Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I'm back with a new layout and video for Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the 2020 May kits again. And I was inspired today by this beautiful floral paper from the Stamp Market. I really liked the color mix of all the warm colors, the orange, yellow, pinks, and reds. And then I also pulled out a couple of the Pocket Life cards that coordinated and had those same colors in there. And my first thought was just to start fussy cutting some of these flowers out. And so that's where I'm going to begin. And I'll see where that takes me. At this point, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I kept fussy cutting. I fussy cut out some of the flowers from Pocket Life cards. And I decided to go with this soft pink background and these cute pictures of my daughter from 2014. And they're the perfect match because she's in an orange and white swimsuit with some pink on it. And then I really like all the green grass in the background. I feel like the green is a really pretty accent color to all these other colors because of the leaves and the flowers. I felt like it was a perfect mix. And so I just started to kind of experiment and play around with the placement of all of these things that I've fussy cut. So I thought about doing a vertical design where I stack the photos on top of each other. And that's where my first design idea just sort of took off. And so I'm going to do some mixed media behind all of that. And I'm using some white gesso here to coat pretty much the center area where all of this stuff is going to go, just straight down from the top to the bottom. And I'm going to use my fingers to kind of smudge the edges so it's a little bit softer and faded around the edges. But this paper is really soft pink. It's really pretty. It's in the cardstock kit. And so you can't even really see the white gesso. All right, so I'm going to use the ink pads from the Stamp Market that are in this month's color kit. And I'm going to use them with some plastic packaging. I'm going to stamp the ink right onto the plastic, spritz it with water, and then flip it over and just start pressing it down and spreading the color around. And this is the orange one. It's called Melon Orange. And I was trying to get the color orange of that flower over there on the right. And so I had to do a lot of mixing and matching to get that exact color because this orange ink pad was a little bit lighter and it had more yellow tones in it. And so I brought in the red ink pad that we also get called Cherry Kisses. And I'm going to add in a little bit of this at a time. So I stamped it on the plastic packaging, and then I'm going to use my water brush to kind of pick up some of that color and then start to spread it into the orange that's already on the background. And when the red is going to mix with this orange, it's going to change the tone. It's still going to be orange. It's just going to make it more of a darker orange. And so I just took some time to do this, and I wanted this to look, you know, very splotchy and, you know, just like watercolor, even though it's an ink pad. And so this is just another way to use the ink pads. The gesso on the background is what is allowing all of the color to kind of run and blend when I add water to it. It's not just soaking right through. So if you were using this ink pad with a stamp and you stamped it directly onto the cardstock, you know, it's going to look exactly like the stamp. And if you tried to add water to that stamped image, it's probably not going to blend or fade like you see here. So the gesso is what is going to allow all of this color to smudge. Now, if you stamped on top of the gesso and then added water, it would run and blend if you did decide to add water to that. So yeah, I'm just going to keep working at it here, and I let that dry a little bit. It's very soft and pretty and light. I decided to come back in with another coat by mixing the melon and the cherry kisses together because I'm just trying to get a deeper orange shade here. And in the end, I want some yellow, I want some orange, and then even a little bit of pink. I don't necessarily want red on the background. There are going to be little pops of red on the layout in the end, just because it is in some of the things that I'm going to use, but it's definitely not the main color. It's more of a small accent color. So all I'm doing here is using another brush. I put my water brush down, got my jar of water and my bigger brush there, and I'm basically just doing the same thing, just dabbing it into the color adding it down, adding some water, using my finger, just trying to smudge it. And I am trying to get the color, you know, to the very top of the page and then all the way down to the bottom, because I've got a lot of stuff that's going to go back on top of this, and I want the background to be visible kind of around everything and in between everything, because the way I'm going to situate the photos is basically I'm going to have one photo on the top half of this page and then one on the bottom half. So I'm going to have a little bit of space in between them where I'm thinking that my title will go. So I definitely want this background area to kind of show in between the space of the two photos once they're situated on there. So I'm doing some splatter work here, just mixing the two colors together, splattering it around. And then it's almost dry here. You can see some of it's still running, but you can kind of see the idea that I've got going here. I decided to add in some more pops of golden yellow, so I pulled out one of the Lindy's Starburst sprays that we got in a previous kit, and this one's called Yellow Rose of Texas. And I thought I would just kind of add that in for a little bit of shimmer, since the Lindy's have sparkle to them, and the ink pads obviously don't because they're just flat ink. But I'm just going to continue to blend. I'm going to come in now with more of the red and see how I can mix that with the Lindy's and just kind of get another shade of orange going here and see how that goes. And I'm really liking it. There are so many shades of orange. It's difficult to get the exact shade of the flower over there, but I think I get it pretty close in the end. And you can kind of see now, even though I've got gesso on the background, you can see where the orange liquid there is kind of pooling in a U shape, a sideways U shape. And that's just because I'm adding a lot of water. And you know, even with gesso, your paper is going to do a little bit of warping, especially this kind of paper. This is not watercolor paper. It's just textured cardstock. So it's not really designed to hold a bunch of water, but the gesso sure helps it go a long way. And so, yeah, if you find that you're getting all these little valleys of color, you know, pooling off onto your background, you know, you can dab a little bit of it up or get your heat tool out and dry it so it's a little less bold of a color there. Because when it dries, it's definitely going to dry in that shape. All right, so I'm going to keep working on the photo building here, and I'm going to let the background dry over to the other side. And I'm just going to start with some tissue paper, and then I'm going to come in with some layers using some of the pocket life cards here. I'm going to ruffle up the edges a little bit using my edge distressor there. And I didn't want to go too crazy and bold on the layering. I really like this red and white gingham card, and I wanted to use it on both photos, and so I cut it diagonally so I could use some of it on one photo and then some of it on the other. And then the more I looked at it, the more I just felt like it was, I don't know what it is about red. I think it was because it was red, but I struggled to like it. I was thinking, I don't know if I like that red. I didn't like it, so I'm going to take it off for now and put it aside and just kind of use the two pocket life cards that I have there, and then kind of rebuild everything and experiment again with all the flowers and just kind of see how everything's going to look with the pocket life cards behind the photos, because that does change things. When you start to add layers behind your photos and you can see the color around the edges, it changes things. You know, it adds a whole nother layer of color. And it makes your photo area bigger because you have a bigger border around it. And so it's good to kind of, you know, play around with all of your things and see how it looks. I'm going to use a couple of the Stamp Market tags that we get in the kits. And then I pulled that one part of the red paper back, and I think I'm going to use it on the bottom photo since I'm going to use the red tag in the top. So like I said, I wanted some pops of red on the top and the bottom. So I wanted an orange tag, and there was one on this cut apart sheet from the Stamp Market, so I'm going to cut that out and use that on the bottom half. And I'm just trying to make sure there's an even distribution of all the main colors on the top and the bottom. So I want, you know, an even amount of pink, even amount of yellow, orange, and even the red. And then some of the flowers that I fussy cut out are a cross between red and hot pink, and so we even have some of that color going on. And I'm also going to mix in a couple of the Vicky Bouton die cut flowers. I'm going to use the pink one and then that orangey yellow one right there to the left. All right, so there's my background. I think it's pretty much done. I like how soft it is, but I wanted to add some stencil work to it. So I pulled this really cute stencil. We get 3 Vicky Bouton stencils, and I'm going to use my ink foam blending tool there with the orange ink pad. And this is another way to use the ink pads that don't involve a stamp. You know, you can basically, this is a technique that I would do with the Distress Oxides, but it worked perfectly with this Stamp Market ink pad. You just basically press the blending tool onto the ink pad and then smush it around over the stencil. And I didn't even have to reload the color. I wanted this to look nice and soft, and so I didn't want the orange circles or little sunshines there to be super dark, and so I didn't even have to reload any of the ink. And then on some of the ones that I felt were a little too bold, I was able to soften them up with some water, and you can see there, because of the gesso, I was able to blend out some of the shapes from the stencil, and the gesso is what allows that to happen. All right, so I've got the background just like I wanted. I really like those soft images on there, and then I thought, I need some pink on this background. So I pulled out the Art Philosophy watercolor that we got last month, and that color is Blush. We got that last month, and I'm just gonna use it to add some splatters and a little bit of blending. And in the end, you can't even really tell that I added this pink, but at the time I thought, let's add some pink. So that's what I did. And I felt like it was a pretty color to add since I did have some pink going on in the embellishments and things. And this was a case of I just wanted to keep working on the background for no other reason than I just wanted to do it. I have to kind of remind myself, hello, you've been spending hours on this background. It's okay to let it go and just start adding things to it. So I think it's done. We will see. But I'm going to add everything back on and start to rebuild everything and get it just like I want it. And I'm going to try to recreate what I had before. And this is why in a lot of my videos or in the making of my layouts, I will glue all of my clusters together. So when I pull everything back on, it's already built and it's glued together. I don't have to rebuild it every single time. So I believe this is going to be the last time. And once I get everything situated this time, I'm going to glue it together, most of it. The parts that I know I don't want to move. I do want to pop the photos up, so before I do any gluing, I am going to add some adhesive foam behind the photos there to create a little bit of dimension. And the adhesive foam is good for your photos because when you start to layer and tuck things underneath it, it gives it that little bit of a shadow effect, and you can really tell that the photo is higher than some things that are underneath it, and I think it just makes all the difference. Then I decided to look through all the puffy stickers and the thickers and the cardstock stickers that we get and just pick things out that matched. So I went down the Amy Tan, all those little glittery puffy stickers were so cute. I went through this Dear Lizzie sticker sheet and just kind of stuck them very lightly onto the paper here. That's not where they're gonna go, but I just needed a place to put them. So I picked out some hearts, some words, some little labels there with some phrases and words on those. I really like that gold here and now sticker. I'm going to try to incorporate that into my title. This sticker here I wanted to use, but I wanted to cut the flowers out, so that's what I did. And then I'm going to use my edge distresser to distress these tags. And all these tags are from the Stamp Market. Except the little one on the right, that one is from the Dear Lizzie sticker sheet. And then I realized that I needed to punch holes in the 2 bottom tags. So I'm very sorry for getting way too close to the camera there, but I forgot my hole puncher was way across my desk. So yeah, that was way too much of me in the camera. So now that I've got everything like I want it, I think, I'm going to go ahead and glue it all down. And I'm going to layer in the tags, the big flowers, the fussy cut pieces from Pocket Life cards, and everything. And I really like how this is looking. This color scheme is really pretty. It just reminds me of summer. And I was so excited that I had the perfect photos for this. This is the only summer that my daughter had the swimsuit because obviously she outgrew it, and I just thought it was adorable. And usually we were in the pool, but on this day, my husband was out in the front yard doing something, and so for about 10 minutes she was out in the front yard playing with this water hose, and she was obsessed with it, and I just thought it was the cutest thing. So yeah, that was, gosh, 6 years ago. Oh my gosh, time flies. So yeah, I've got it almost glued down. That tag was a sticker, and of course it was sticking to my hand, so I had to be careful with it. I'm going to leave the hello open so you can see the background through it. And then just kind of try to figure out all the loose pieces. Where do I want these extra flowers that I have? And it also depends on the color of them. You know, what color do I need where? And I feel like I don't want to make it any more busy, I guess is the best term, because I do have a lot. There is a lot going on, but I did want to add some small pieces in. So that's where all those little pieces on the right are going to come in. And again, I'm just kind of judging by the space that I can put them, where it will look good, and also the color. So yeah, I wind up using, I do use the piece that says love, that little sticker, but I don't wind up using happy. I try it in a couple places, but I think this is what I'm going to go with at this moment. I did want to finish up the tags, and so I have some pieces of cord here that I'm going to stick through each one, because I feel like a tag has a hole, it needs a ribbon or some string, it needs something in it. So I added that to all of the tags, and then I'm going to come in with some colored thread to add in. So most of the pieces are glued together, it's just not glued down to the background yet, so I can still tuck things in if I need to. I'm going to add in some yellow thread up top, because I felt like that little corner where the sticker that says today, I felt like there was a lot of pink and red right there, so the yellow was the perfect color of thread. And then I'm going to add some hot pink over to the right, and then down on the bottom half I'm going to add in some of that orange color. The thread is kind of a orangey yellow, burnt orange color, I guess. And so it was the perfect match of kind of both of those colors. And then some more of the hot pink over to the right. And you can see now there is some red, just not a lot. And I feel like it's the perfect amount of red. So just kind of acts as another accent color. All right, now I'm going to start to glue it all down to the background. I'm going to try to add a little bit to the thread clusters there, and then just coat the back with glue. And the glue that I'm using is the Scotch Tacky glue, and I put it inside that fine liner bottle. I usually have been well, not lately since the whole quarantine thing, but up until then I was finding the Scotch Tacky glue at Walmart, and before that I would get it at Michael's. And I have not checked on Amazon, but I'm pretty sure you can get it on Amazon. But it's called Scotch Tacky glue, and it works perfectly in the fine liner bottles. You can also get the fine liner bottles on Amazon or Hobby Lobby, and that glue works perfectly in the bottles. I know a lot of people try to put a different type of glue in these little bottles, and it's too thick and it won't come out. You definitely don't want to put Aleene's Tacky glue in there. Totally different glue. It's way too thick. And a lot of people have told me that, they put the glue in there, it's a brand new bottle, and then they can't get it to come out. So for whatever reason, that glue is too thick. But I'm sure other people have tried other glues in there, and it's worked great. But this is the only glue that I have used in there, and you can see how worn that bottle is. I have used it for, gosh, years now, and it's still going strong. So highly recommend. So yeah, I'm going to add in these little bitty details again. I tried the happy sticker again, wound up not using it. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to all those odds and ends. Even the stickers or the puffy, the glittery ones from Amy Tan, even though they stick really well, I still added some glue under them because of the gesso. The gesso is kind of gritty and nothing ever really wants to stay stuck. So the glue will make sure of that. Then I want to work this here and now sticker into my title, but I didn't like the way it was stacked. So I'm going to fussy cut it out and separate the here, the and the now, and then I can make it more how I want it, and that's what I'm going to do. So the gold was just a little too shiny, and it still looks kind of shiny there because it's over my lights, or under my lights. But I just add a little bit of white gesso over the top of it, and it just kind of makes it more of like a matte shiny, not so bright shiny. And then I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive foam under it and kind of stagger the here and now under the hello. And I do like the pops of gold from this. I think these colors just sort of look really, really pretty mixed with gold elements. And so I decided to add my journaling over to the right instead of the left. And I'm just going to add a little bit of my lines there with my T-square ruler, and then I'm going to use my metallic gold pen for my journaling. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go way back to our November kits when we got the Christmas goodies, and we got this bottle of Jen Hadfield Gold Glimmer Spray, and I'm going to splatter that around, and then that is it. That's the final layout. I really like how this turned out. I think it's really cute. I really love all the orange and the pink and the yellows, and I feel like my photos were really cute and perfect for this. And so it was fun to kind of just start with those fussy cut flowers and sort of work around those. And off camera, I actually played around with turning the background to where the mixed media was horizontal and putting the photos horizontally instead of vertically. But I decided that I liked this design better, and it was just something that I hadn't done in a while. So I hope this inspires you in some way. I hope it gives you some ideas to try. And I hope you'll give mixed media a try. Try to, use those stamp pads in a different way. If you, aren't in the mood to actually stamp, here's some options for you to use those. So I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so, so much for watching, and I hope you have a great week.